Hello everybody. This is your mini video explaining how the next 8 weeks of our class is going to work. So we have 4 2-week modules where we will be discussing different scientific articles or journal articles or research papers or primary literature. All means the same thing. So the first paper we're reading is on coronaviruses, so specifically on SARS. And what I wanted to go through with you is just a little bit of information about how these 2 weeks will work. And this applies to our next paper on Ebola and the future papers as well. So in your modules, there's this journal articles, general information module. I suggest you read everything. If you are not familiar with reading primary literature or research articles, this document kind of gives you some information about how I suggest you go through it, because it can be pretty overwhelming, and there are kind of good strategies of how to work through a paper. For instance, reading the abstract, this overall summary, reading the introduction, kind of telling you what the paper is about and some background information. Next, jumping all the way to the discussion. This helps you understand what they are trying to do, what the purpose of all these experiments are, and then going back and tackling the data. It will take you multiple times to go through this paper, and kind of your guideline for working through this paper is not that one, is the journal article write-up assignment. So everybody is to do this. This will be due Tuesday night of the first week for each article. And the whole purpose of this is to push you to read and analyze all the figures and come up with questions you have. This assignment is primarily graded on completion. I don't expect you to figure out everything from the paper. That's why we're discussing it. But you need to have put a lot of time and effort into this paper before we jump into group discussions. So you're going to see that there are 3 parts to the paper. I highly suggest you just do it in this ABC format. It makes it easiest for me to grade, and it will make it easy for you to find information when you're working on the group discussion. Okay. So part A, you may actually do last. This is kind of an overall for the whole article. It's asking you what questions the authors are attempting to answer in the paper. So what's the purpose of this paper? In general, how are they doing these experimental procedures? Are they using animal models? Are they using tissue culture? Are they doing molecular biology work, protein, that kind of stuff? What are their conclusions? So writing a concluding statement that puts the paper into a larger context. Again, this is probably why you need to do this last. And some of the logical next steps. I read through this section fairly well to make sure you're getting the gist of the paper. Logical next steps is going to really help you when you write the news and views paper that's at the end of our 2-week session 2-week, exploration of each of these papers. So anyways, part A is more of an overview. Part B is going through every table or figure in the article and doing these 4 things: identifying the biological question being asked for that specific figure, the techniques they used, the results, and the conclusions, right? The conclusions is more like, what does this mean? The results are, here is what they found. I think it's easiest if you just go figure 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, but some people prefer to write it in more of a paragraph form. Part C, don't forget, I'm asking you to write down 3 questions you have. This will help you with group discussions. This will help you make sure you remember some of those things you weren't totally clear on. And I look through these, and from these questions I start to develop my list of Dr. J's questions, we'll talk about in a minute, for you to answer. Okay. So that's your guideline for the assignment that's due each Tuesday night of the beginning of our week. Let's see, let me go back to the home page. Okay, so this, whoops, let's see if I can do this. No. Can't scroll over. Okay. Oh, that's so frustrating. Okay, so over here is the 2-week plan every time we start a new journal article. So the Tuesday of the first week, your journal article write-up is due. That's what I just explained, that assignment. By Wednesday night, and these are all 11:59 deadlines, p.m., you're going to post figure explanations. So, for example, for this first paper, everyone's going to have to do at least 2 figures. Then you guys start working on discussing the figures, making sure you understand what each figure means, the conclusions. If you look at your journal article write-up and come up with something different than whoever, say, did figure 1 said the conclusions were, ask about it or post a reply that says, hey, this is what I think was a conclusion, or did I miss something, or this is how you make these replies and have this discussion. So you're going to be spending 2 weeks looking through, not only posting yourself, but replying to your group mates' questions. By Friday night, so on Thursday, I will have posted a list of Dr. J's questions, most of them coming from questions that you guys had, and you will pick one and you will make a new post for an answer to one of these questions. Please, 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 I made a video somewhere. Let me get back down here. Where is it? Darn it. Yeah, if you can find it. So this video is an introduction to the paper. I will make one of these at the beginning of the every 2 weeks, giving you some of the information about how the experiments were done, because I don't want you to get too lost in the methods. I want you to be able to analyze some of the data. I swear I posted another video that talked about, no, maybe I didn't. Okay, maybe that's what this video is. Sorry. I thought I posted one that talked about all of these posts. So let me back up a second to make sure you understand what you are graded on. So, woo! Oh, I need to fix these dates. Don't look at these dates, but you are responsible for initiating at least 3 posts. Figures, and if you have multiple figures, that still counts as your figure summary. 1. Answers to Dr. J's questions, and the most important takeaway. So you will be making 3 posts minimum. I mean, multiple for the figure, but that kind of counts as 1 every 2 weeks. And then in addition to that, you will be replying. Darn it, I thought I made a video about that, about how to start a post. Okay, I'll look. So the third, so you're going to have your figures. I highly suggest that you say figure 1 and make that post, and figure 2 and make that post, right? For whatever figures you're assigned or have agreed to complete for your group. This, you will write whatever the question is you're answering. And this one is what you think is one of the most important take-home messages with data to support. Okay, this doesn't mean necessarily the whole paper. You just pick one aspect that says, I think this is really important that they showed, and here is the specific data that supports it. You don't have to put the data picture in, but I want to know figure 3, panel A, or whatever you think is the data that supports your take-home message. Okay. Thursday night, the discussion closes. As far as on Friday, I will start grading to make sure you have met all the expectations. And that's where we'll do this. So in your there it is. That's the video I was looking for. Okay, so it's under guidelines for group discussion posting. Each person should initiate a minimum of 3 posts. I've made a video about how you can make posts, make replies. For the figure posts, I want you to include an image of the figure. It just makes it easiest for us to match your words and look at the data instead of having to pull up the paper. So I've made a video about how to do that. And it talks about you need a minimum of 8 replies to other students' posts. So that's where we go to. That's not that one. Group expectations. So I would envision your week as Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you're working on the journal article. You've watched the intro video that I've posted, and you are working on that journal article write-up. So that is due on Tuesday of the first week. By Wednesday night, you need to make a post with the figures you are assigned. Again, you may have multiple posts for this. All of the figures in the paper need to be covered, even though you only have 4 people in your group. I keep the groups small so that everybody has a chance to really participate. You will be in new groups for each paper. So I just have Canvas randomly assign you into new groups. So each time we start a new paper, look for your new group. Okay, so I wrote here, don't just copy and paste your journal article write-up assignment in here. Make sure you're synthesizing your understanding and doing the best. Write questions if you still have questions about the figure. So say you said, okay, I'll do figure 1 and 2, and as you're writing figure 2, you still have questions. That's okay. Just post those, and hopefully people in your group will help with the discussion and answer those questions. So each figure or table gets its own discussion thread. Work on reading each other's posts, answering questions or asking questions. Make sure the posts are correct. Don't just think, oh, well, they said this is what's happening. I must not have understood it. Ask. Okay. Do I have the right dates on here? Yeah. Thursday and Friday, continue answering each other's questions. By Thursday noon, I will post a list of questions in the module for the paper, and you are going to pick one of these and work on answering it. So each person needs to pick a different question. So a lot of people call dibs. So they'll post, I'm going to answer question 3, which states blah, blah, blah as their title, and they'll work on that. Then you have the weekend. You can absolutely keep replying. I'm not requiring you to post and reply on the weekends, although that's when a lot of people usually have time. Monday of week 2, you're going to start a new discussion post with what you think is the most important takeaway from the paper. Again, including the specific data that supports that conclusion. Figure numbers, panels. Best way to keep discussions going is asking questions. Not what do you think, but asking questions that you have so someone has something to answer as they post. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of that second week, you'll continue answering each other's questions, getting your questions answered, making sure you understand this paper, because you will be writing up something called a news and views at the end of the 2 weeks, and then you will be moving on to the next research paper. Again, I will grade discussions based on posts completed by Thursday night. You must post. So there's a lot of details here, and the reason for all these requirements is to try to get as robust of discussion as we can. Okay, so the days I'm requiring you to post: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Wednesday of week 1 through Thursday. You must post replies, not your posts that you're starting, but your replies on at least 4 of the 7 days, right? So if everyone just posts at the end or at the beginning, we don't have much of a discussion. So your replies have to be spread out over the 7 weekdays, okay? So again, don't just post 1, 2, 3, 4 here, because you're not going to get points for not posting during the first week. You must have at least 8 substantial replies. So not just asking a question or saying I agree, but answering someone's question, or saying, hey, have you thought about this, or showing a little bit of your understanding. At least one of your replies of these 8 must include an outside resource with complete citation. Okay, so I want you to go and find some information from outside and bring that in to the discussion. Late posts will receive 0 points. So if you don't post your figures that you were assigned or chose to do by the end of the Wednesday night at midnight, you will not get points for the figure posts or posting the answer to your question, Dr. J's questions. So you see a point distribution, 5-point scale for each of the required posts, 15-point scale for comments, basically replies, I should say. Meeting all of these, minimum of 8. Substantial, meaning they add to the knowledge, the discussion, spread out over the 4 of the 7 weekdays, what am I trying to say? On both week 1 and week 2 having replies. Okay, I know this video is getting long. So that was just mine. So let's go back to the module, just so you know. So again, in the journal articles, general information, how to tackle a research paper, the details for your journal article write-ups, information on group discussion, expectations, how to write a news and views. I will make a video for this a little bit later, and I'm going to move this right now. Guidelines for group discussion posting. That had my little video on how to post, how to cut and paste images. So we are starting with SARS. This is the front page right now, coronavirus background. This is the PowerPoint that links. Did I put the lecture in here? No, I need to do that. I need to connect it to the lecture video. Sorry about that. It will be done by the time you're watching this video. So, paper introduction is a video by me explaining techniques, kind of giving you an overview of the paper. Here is some background reading about coronaviruses and zoonotic diseases. On that home page, remember, your classmates made a coronavirus wiki that also gives you background information, some other articles I linked to. And then the paper you have to read for your journal article write-up is this one, Receptor and Viral Determinants of SARS coronavirus. So this is what you're doing, your journal article write-up and all the figures. We are going to talk about this paper. I should have put that here. These supplemental figures go with our primary article. Let me just fix that while I'm talking. I also want you to read, and probably week 2 bring in this idea of MERS. That was another coronavirus. Here are your links to your assignments with their due dates. Okay, I'm going to stop there because I feel like I'm rambling a bit. Let me know if you have questions, and enjoy reading this paper.